Greetings everyone, welcome to Clad Possible. Today it is 19th of October and I am going to share the Hindu newspaper with you. First of all, let us discuss the Israel and Hamas trade blame over the hospital blast. So, first things first, that is the attack on the hospital, and now we are being shattered by a lot of misinformation and disinformation. It is very difficult to rely on which side, but Hamas blames Israeli defense guards for this particular attack, whereas Israel says that these are the rockets which are misfired and mistargeted, and most of the rockets that Hamas is firing is falling into Palestinian territories and killing their very own people. The name of the hospital was Al Ahli Hospital, and recently, reportedly 500 people have died, and there is a lot of public outrage. You can say out of this hospital carnage through West Asia. It is also happening at a time when United States President Joe Biden is visiting Israel. Yesterday, in the newspaper analysis, we had seen that the Jordan King Abdullah met Germany Chancellor Olaf Scholz, and all of these countries, including Jordan, Egypt, uh, and Palestine, basically have called off their meeting with United States President. From the official position of United States of America, it is very much clear that they're taking Israel's side, and they're stating that from the video footage, it is not very much evident that Israel is could be blamed for this particular attack. Though I would say that now in wartime, the very first death is of the truth. It is very much difficult to dig out the truth, and now we will be like, "Pehle murgi आई कि pehle anda." It also cannot be denied that Hamas के rockets misfire हुए हैं अपने ही civilian territories में, गाजा स्ट्रिप में ही गिरे हैं. 2021 में हुआ था ये. There were a lot of incidents that happened, and there are conclusive proofs of that. However, we cannot easily subscribe to what the Western media is trying to portray, that it is not the role of Israel. And if you will find here that the main point is that the Palestinian rocket attacks are continuing after the United States of American president visited Israel. And Israel is basically targeting southern strip of Gaza. The southern strip of Gaza was basically created by Israel itself as a safe haven, as a safe zone for Palestinian people. But then it is very much difficult to to favor Israel on this part, because one particular region that they stated that they are not going to bomb is the southern strip of Gaza Strip, and now they are bombing that region as well. And that too when Mediterranean Sea is shut, and they have asked Egypt to close the borders between Gaza Strip and Egypt. Now this is something to be seen, but let me take you to the news affairs wherever Israel, Palestine, and Gaza Strip bombings are being discussed. So first of all, we need to check if there is any news that we can ascertain with respect to India's official position. What has India stated, right? What is the official position of our country? So Prime Minister Modi has basically condemned the attack on hospitals, and we are not favoring Israel. Please understand this. In this particular Israel-Hamas war, for this particular incident, the Prime Minister's official statement is that we want justice, we want the truth to be out, that who is responsible for this Al Ahli Baptist Hospital in Gaza Strip, where hundreds are dead, because that is not our policy. I mean, attack on a hospital, even in times of war, should not happen. It should not be normalized. Attack on educational institutions, water facilities, power discoms, and everything should not be there, because civilians have nothing to do in the war between states. Okay, so, and in this particular news, you will find that both the political outfits of India, BJP and Congress, stands united. P. Chidambaram has stated that this particular attack is as brutal as Hamas attacked civilians and killed 600 Israelis. So I think an eye for an eye will make the whole world blind. That kind of narrative is very much true over here. Though you will find that the Israeli ambassador Naor Gilon has issued a videotaped messaging stating that Islamic Jihad for the bombing is responsible for the rockets fired by the Hamas, and which often fall within the Gaza territory, hurting Palestinian people. Now, this is something that is very much, unprecedented to witness, and India condemns in unison. And remember this date, October 7, the date that is considered to be the trigger of the war. Okay, that is considered to be the trigger of the war. And there is one interesting news on the international front as well, that we will see how what Sri Lanka is facing right now is being related to the Gaza attack. So escalating tensions in Gaza come under sharp focus in civil war scarred Sri Lanka. So the civil war in Sri Lanka ended in 1983. It was a very long 25-year civil war, 1983 to 2009, which led to the adoption of a new Sri Lankan constitution, and they were basically talking about political instability, the lack of democracy, and lack of economic progress for Sri Lankan people. Tamilians were also responsible for this. But what is more interesting here to witness is that Sri Lankan politics has drawn a parallel, has compared this with the Sri Lanka Indian peacekeeping force in Sri Lanka deployed in 1987 when they had basically attacked a Jaffna teaching hospital. So you can understand that the operation that India conducted inside Sri Lanka to weed out terrorism, the terrorist force of LTTE, to an extent, Sri Lankan Tamils have some sort of, you can say, sympathetic temperament towards that particular radical outfit. 1987 happens to be the same year when India Sri Lanka had signed the peace accords. What is the Sri Lanka's official position with respect to this? So Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe has recently called for a four-state solution. We state that Israel, Gaza, Palestine and Lebanon have to resolve the crisis, which means that he also understands that Palestinian people are not supporting Gaza people, and Palestinians basically want peace, and they have already, the legitimate interest of Palestine is being represented by Palestine Liberation Organization, and PLO is at off-roads with Hamas. So what Sri Lanka is proposing is a four-state solution, and he also stated that there is a caretaker Prime Minister of Pakistan, Anwar ul Haq Kakar, and both of them have shared their concerns with respect to what is going on in Israel. So the regional leaders are currently basically in China to attend the Belt and Road Forum for international cooperation. So whether Israel-Palestine conflict would be discussed over there or not, that is something to be seen here. But we are definitely seeing that Putin and China, Putin and Xi Jinping apparently are coming very close together, and they have stated that amidst war, it's our friendship that is deepening. So that is what they have stated, that it's a deepening friendship between China and you can say Russia. But when they were drawing war, parallel to the 1987 India peacekeeping operation that we conducted in Sri Lanka, so the death of 70 civilians were there, and this is not comparable to the scale of what is going on in Gaza. Though civilians' loss of life is condemnable, even if one single person is dying. But then you will find what is the official position of Sri Lanka with respect to this. So they have stated that they need to create a humanitarian corridor to provide aid to the besieged people of Gaza, which apparently cannot be done if there is no sort of discussions and only missile diplomacy is being pursued. All right. And also they have stated that they should return to the pre-1967 border and establish Al-Quds Al-Sharif at its capital in Gaza. So this is the official position of Sri Lanka. Moving to this part, again on the international front, Israel to allow aid to move into Gaza from Egypt, but they will be doing that after a lot of checks that they're going to take. In a recent assurance given by Benjamin Netanyahu at the call of United States of America, they are ready to allow humanitarian assistance to Gaza to begin flowing into Gaza from Egypt, with understanding that it would be subject to inspections and that it should go to civilians and not Hamas militants. How they are going to filter that again raises concerns over the deployment of the humanitarian aid, right? So 1,400 people have already lost their lives, and this is nothing in comparison to a full-fledged war between a state and a non-state actor. So this is what they have stated, that Hamas does not represent all Palestinian people. It has brought them only suffering. And he spoke of the need to find ways of encouraging life-saving capacity to help the Palestinians who are innocent caught in the middle of this. Palestine also do not want this. Additional $100 million additional fund is being provided as humanitarian assistance, which will be delivered to Gaza as well as West Bank. Now, what happens there is to be seen. What is the Europe's position on this particular incident? So European leaders have reacted to the deaths of hundreds of civilians at the Al Ahli Arab Hospital in Gaza, and they have stated that whatever Israel is claiming that this was fired by Palestinian Islamic Jihad, right? They have blamed it, though European Union has not stated anything they are not very vocal about it. The Prime Minister Rishi Sunak had stated that the whole house was shocked from what the scenes of the hospital, any loss of innocent life is a dreadful tragedy. British intelligence is saying that we are independently analyzing the information around the explosion, and we are not drawing any conclusions on this. So we are asking you to wait till the official information or our investigation reveals what is going on, right? And with respect to what France is saying, so France has also univocally condemned the attack on the Al Ahli Arabi Hospital in Gaza, and saying that Palestinian civilians are becoming victims and this should not happen. Mr. Macron said that nothing justified an attack on a hospital or on civilians and called for clarity around the circumstances of the attack. So basically, the world is not basically outrightly supporting Israel on this, because you know that Israel at times is very good in building the narratives, right? The strip of the land has been sealed off by Israel in the north and Egypt in the south. The EU's top diplomat Joseph Borrell also called for culpability of the crime to be established and accountability for the violence. And whosoever is responsible, we need to bring them. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz said he was shocked by the images from the hospital. Our hearts are with the families of the victims. Most of the operations that the doctors have conducted in that particular hospital was without anesthesia on the floor. Now, this is a very shocking news that is coming in front of us. And you will find that World Health Organization Chief Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus is also voicing out concerns, stating that following a blast at a hospital that killed hundreds of people, every second we wait to get the medical aid in, we lose lives. That is ultimate concern of World Health Organization, that they want to save lives. Here you will find that hands of friendship being signed, world conflict strengthen ties with China, says Russian Putin. And they are obviously here for the Belt and Road Initiative, Third Economic Forum. Coming to this part, on the national front, we have this important news that finally letter of request was sent by India to USA for the sale of 31 MQ-9B Reaper drones, and General Atomics is the company which is selling us the drones, which is providing us the drones, 31 drones, and 15 are Sea Guardians for the Navy and 8 are Sky Guardians respectively for Army as well as for Air Force. The total cost is $3,072 million through US foreign military sales, FMS routes. Just remember that, right? So they are going to basically they also have to establish a maintenance, repair and overhaul facility in India. But the location is not yet finalized. However, they are planning that they will be setting up this in Bengaluru. Now see, this deal is not cracked. This deal is not cracked, and I really cannot say much about it, because the deal has to be there to be on papers, right? The deal has to be there to be on papers, because Rafale deal, whatever was there with respect to Rafale, that has been asked in CLAT already once, right? That has been asked in CLAT, Rafale deal ke upar, but only after the deal was signed properly between the countries. So you don't have to like deep down into what is MQ-9B speciality and everything. Just remember the name of the companies. This deal shall be completed by February 2024, and the drones shall be delivered 3 years after the contract is signed. So that is what we need to remember with respect to the deal. Again, this is very important news that is coming before us. The role of Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. Now, Foreign Contribution Regulation Act is one such act that allows Ministry of Home Affairs to play a major role for whatever money is coming from outside as aid or donation, right? So let's say you are running a NGO in India, and it also has roots in United States of America, and United States of America's NGO is bigger than yours, and you share a common agenda. So United States of America, that NGO has to send money to your NGO as a donation, then it has to go through FCRA. Foreign Contribution Regulation Act is the leading act that governs foreign donations. Remember this. Ministry of Home Affairs is the nodal ministry responsible for this. So the Ayodhya Ram Temple Trust, known as Sri Ram Janmabhoomi Tirth Kshetra, has received a license to accept foreign donations under FCRA. That is one such news. But the good news about this is that the trust already has somewhere around 3,500 crores as donation given by people of India to construct the temple, and 67.3 acres of land has been allotted to that particular temple trust, and they have also acquired additional 71 acres of land, obviously by way of purchase, to develop public utilities for the Shraddhalus that are going to come to the temple premises for worship. And this particular construction began only after the 2019 judgment that had maintained first that the Muslim community was wrongfully deprived of the 450-year-old Babri Masjid demolished in 1992. That was the first thing that the Supreme Court observed, very sympathetic and empathetic towards the Muslim population sentiments as well. But at the very same time, the Supreme Court also realized that they cannot give exclusive ownership to Muslim population with respect to that particular area, because uh, on a silent note, it is already established that Ram temple was there, over which Babri Masjid was built. So both of them are cultural sites, and one predates another. So the right to title or right to ownership of that particular land will belong to the person, will belong to the trust, will belong to the faith that came first over there. So that is what is, I think, the position here, and it is well established by the judiciary. So people are not in a position, and a separate allotment of land has also been provided, especially by the state funds, to create a mosque over there. So you see that the concept of a masjid, the concept of a masjid is different from the concept of a dargah. Okay, and this particular Babri was a masjid, not a dargah. So these are the subtleties that we should understand as law aspirants, as CLAT aspirants, that if there is a dargah, then there is a grave, and that if there is a grave, then that particular place should become like, should not move and cannot be moved from one, because you cannot actually change the grave. Okay, but masjid is a place where Muslims come to offer namaz and their prayers, and that can be anywhere. Okay, so Babri Masjid could be shifted because it was not a dargah, it was a masjid. And the other side that we should also understand, that it was the same place where Ram was born. And though so most of the times what I have seen is people questioning the faith that we worship humans at gods. So there is a concept of avataranam in our Sanatan Dharma, where we say that when a man behaves like a god, he should be treated and worshipped like a god for ages and ages and ages. And that is why Ram is considered to be an avatar of Lord Vishnu. Though we do not have any particular murti, or you can say a specimen of Lord Vishnu, it is only in the feelings. There is a Vaishnavism culture that we follow. So that particular place was the birthplace of a human incarnation of God that Sanatan Dharma people worship, and that also could not be changed. So that was how the temple trust again was given this particular right over that particular title, and now they have also the license to accept foreign donations, and definitely the donations would be coming in. So the temple will be inaugurated anywhere between January 14 and 24, 2024. So first of all, what we need to understand in this particular matter is how to settle the dust. Okay, there are a lot of religious sentiments, outrageous sentiments that can be fired and fueled by manipulating information and propagating disinformation. With that very same thought, let me come to this particular aspect, the editorial. So I'm linking up the current affairs from one point to another, how disinformation creeps into picture, and that can destabilize the government. That we need to understand. So there was another editorial, because the Hindu is a very clever newspaper. Like if it is telling you something, you just have to draw the patterns to understand the newspaper. So on page number 6, we had this particular editorial, which is basically talking about the explosion of digital uncertainty, and what are the ramifications that generative artificial intelligence has. Now, generative artificial intelligence is one such intelligence where artificial intelligence can think and change people's behavior. So that is what MK Narayanan, he's a former director of Intelligence Bureau. So whatever opinion that he is making becomes very substantive, and very critical of what this particular technology holds for us. Okay, so that is what we are going to check here. What are the concerns that he has raised? So you can identify that I have already highlighted the important areas that you should look into. Now, the very first concept that he is simply raising is that there is a lack of digital literacy. People are not really aware about digital advancements, and they often consider whatever they see on the internet as on internet as truth, like God is speaking to them. And when there is not enough digital literacy, when people do not understand how information dissemination is working, what are the cryptic manners in which information is spread, manipulated, and targeted, people viably take everything that comes to them as a matter of, as a piece of truth, and that can also lead to disinformation. So what is the major drawback that the author is highlighting is that there are grave implications of this particular aspect into lives and economies, that we can say that is now being shaped by a fertile digital topsoil, right? Also, people have a very narrow aperture of understanding of what are the aspects of artificial intelligence threat. And lately, yesterday also, we had an important editorial on the immediate repercussions as well as long-term implications of artificial intelligence and generative artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence is gaining a lot of traction this particular year. But the catch is, dear, that this artificial intelligence के ऊपर एक specific question 2023 के CLAT में already आ चुका है, which was with respect to Meta's new AI language and all of that. But this one particular question cannot be repeated, but artificial intelligence and Internet of Things continues to be important, right? So we need to understand the dogmas around it, the principles around it and all of that. So cognitive warfare truly ranks alongside other elements of modern warfare. So what is this term, cognitive warfare? Cognitive warfare is a way in which war can be besieged upon you by changing. These are the conventional methods of war: ocean, air, and space. Now, the modern warfare's domains are changing human behaviors, right? Like propagation of a false news on the news media by powerful non-state actors. Now, the term non-state actors simply implies terror outfits, okay? Terror outfits. And categorically, we can put Hamas into this. Now, Hamas के ऊपर इन्होंने यहाँ पे ये बताया है that Hamas was able to tackle the vulnerable artificial intelligence systems of Israel. This particular thing can also reach to a loss of trust on the government, confidentiality breach, and a loss of governance capabilities, right? And a lot of good words are there in this particular editorial. So you just have to like read it. And there are a lot of moments that they have discussed. Like they are calling it, this particular thing, as an Oppenheimer moment. What is Oppenheimer moment? What is artificial general intelligence? That is what he has defined, right? Artificial general intelligence will be soon able to replace human judgment, intuition, and creativity, and that will be leading to a colonization of sorts. Artificial intelligence can colonize humans, right? Digital colonization, that is what he's calling. And this artificial general intelligence can be used militarily, the same way industrial evolution was fostered, and the motivation of industrial evolution was close race between two strong economies at that point of time. Moving to the other part, what is Oppenheimer moment? So Oppenheimer moment is a crossroad when you are meeting with new forms of technology, but yet you want to regulate it because it can be harmful. Nuclear technology was there, which was a boon as well as a bane. There are lessons to be learned from Hamas-Israel conflict, and the lesson is that over-dependence on artificial intelligence and a belief that artificial intelligence is invincible, can never be defeated, could prove to be catastrophic as locking the gates after the horse has bolted. So, again, good idioms and good words. M.K. Narayanan is known for this, for a beautiful English that he puts before us. Now, this Harshvi Pant Sahab, this is the Vice President of ORF, and his foreign affairs articles are very, very intriguing. So Belt and Road Initiative की third forum meeting हो रही है बीजिंग में. Obviously, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Russia, Nepal, all of these countries are visiting. And this is being compared to the Marshall Plan of United States of America. Now, Marshall Plan of United States of America began in 1948 when United States of America, without, you can say, formal support, tried to create a huge capitalization investments in the Western Europe. Western Europe obviously includes Germany, France, UK, Italy, and all of those countries. And though parallels cannot be drawn between Marshall Plan and China's BRI, but China's BRI is considered to be a very, very advanced project because 200 BRI cooperation pacts have been signed with over 150 nations, and that cumulative investment of around 380 billion. And they have a potential to raise somewhere around 1.5 trillion annually through 2030 for small, you can say, emerging economies. That is cumulatively equal to 4.5% of the GDP of the low and middle income countries. So that's a huge investment that China is taking further ahead. The main motive behind this is that the transition of a China from a regional power to a country of a global influence, to a global power with comprehensive strength. That is the real motivation of the Xi Jinping, and that is where 2013 was the year when Xi Jinping came to power and announced Belt and Road Initiative. The main problem is that China feels the need to develop new arteries of trade, commerce, and intercourse. The catch is that there is only one Strait of Malacca that is there, and it is called as a jugular vein for China's economy that can be ever blocked. Jugular veins are those veins that carry deoxygenated blood from the brain to the other parts of the heart for purification. So Strait of Malacca once blocked, you are dead. Okay, so that is like China wants to create a different investment. So what they have done is Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank they have created basically for the purpose of funding BRI initiatives, and 100 billion war chest have been put forth before it. Now, what is the drawback of Belt and Road Initiative? At the outfront, from economic point of view, we see that Belt and Road Initiative is a very successful initiative. 150 nations, 200 projects, itna zyada economic potential. But whatever seems rosy from the front is not there. There are deep concerns that people have raised. So, for example, there are three countries that we should study. First is Sri Lanka, the second is Indonesia, and the third is Pakistan. The case is there. So first of all, we need to understand, see, they say that Chinese munificence is marred by some unsavory ground realities. Munificence means daryadili. Unsavory means not so polite, okay? So there are ground realities like ecological damage, displacement of people, disputes over payouts and labor unrest. A lot of things are happening. So China, whenever he constructs be a Belt and Road Initiative, the usual tendency is that the China will send Chinese laborers into that country to construct. Now that ultimately leads to the local population depriving of their economic opportunities or job opportunities that they can create. Just imagine if there is a road to be constructed under BRI, so instead of providing the work under Manrega, Chinese workers, laborers are going to come. The Chinese government will take money from your government for the construction work and all of that, and will pay back to the Chinese workers. So, घर का पैसा घर में ही रह जाता है. So that is the concern that Indonesia raised at one point of time. With respect to what China-Pakistan economic corridor, so it was conceived at one point of time when the relations between Pakistan and China was at zenith, right? Was deeper than the ocean, sweeter than the honey, and higher than the Himalayas. But what happens is there is a recent legislative report of Pakistan which pointed out that whatever economic prospects were generated out of CPEC, 91% of that particular initiative, Gwadar Port Initiative, has gone to China, and Pakistan only could have 9%. So if this is not debt trap, then what it is? You are creating infrastructure facilities in my country, and you are making the most out of it, while I'm just gaining like a sort of royalty, right? So this is the second concern. It is not a win-win cooperation because only apparently China seems to be on the winning side. Secondly, there is one Indonesia that they have discussed. Laos that they have also discussed is that there are super fast trains running across the Mekong River, right? But what has happened because of that the highway, the railway track construction? What has happened? Local population around which are dependent on the Mekong River have been displaced, and there is no adequate compensation being provided. So they have been left high and dry, and what has happened? Droughts due to dam construction projects have wreaked havoc in that particular area. So this is the ecological drawback, which is going to play a major role, because this will ultimately create a paradigm shift in population. Demographic movement will be there. People would be leaving and vacating their ancient places. Ancient means their hereditary homeland, their indigenous occupations and everything, right? Local community is at the behest. Local community is at the front to preserve ecological balance and everything, because they understand the importance of that particular tree, that particular river, that particular lake, and all of that sorts. So if there is a mass displacement, like it happens in India as well, okay? And yesterday only we had read an important editorial on environment impact assessment being a mandatory exercise. So whether United Nations Environment Program is involved into this, China's Belt and Road Initiative, whether they are checking that proper environment impact assessment is being done or not, that is to be seen, because we need convergence of United Nations on this, because there are more than 150 nations involved, and if this is such a great project that is going to integrate global economy from east to the west, it can't be done without the support, or you can say assistance of United Nations, and it should not be done. United Nations must be taken into guarantee. That is what my point of view is here. But then, what are the alternatives that the world is trying to create with respect to Belt and Road Initiative that is being discussed here as well, right? So, very first alternative that United States proposed was under Donald Trump, and USA and Japan basically promised a new investment and infrastructure initiative for the Indo-Pacific region, which was later renamed as Build Back Better World (B3W) initiative by Joe Biden, which have reorganized the partnership for global infrastructure and investment between Japan and United States of America. Secondly, India has always raised concerns over the CPEC, and there are 2 points of concerns that India has raised. First, that it passes through Pak-occupied Kashmir, so that raises the question on the sovereignty of a country. Pak-occupied Kashmir we consider to be intrinsic part of India's homeland, India's geography, India's borderlines, and anything that is being constructed across Pak-occupied Kashmir should have concurrence and you can say consent of Indian government as well, which was not apparently taken, and only Pakistani side was heard. Secondly, India has stated that there are concerns over unsustainable debt, and it's a debt tap policy. So the author has basically called it a Cassandra's warnings. Cassandra's warnings is like a metaphor that indicates that whenever you give warnings but people do not take it seriously. For example, you say that bhoot hote hain and people do not believe it and kisi ko bhoot pakad le. So that is like Cassandra's warning. I gave you the warning, you did not pay heed to. So India has been doing that sorts. India has been warning Sri Lanka, Nepal, Pakistan, Bangladesh with that logic, but they are not the neighboring countries of India are not paying much heed to what India has to say, and they are paying the cost. Pakistan is now paying the cost. Sri Lanka is now paying the cost. Bangladesh has recently inaugurated, so in coming times they might pay the cost. All the more, G20 summit that India hosted was announced with the new corridor, India Middle East European Economic Corridor, and that seeks to link India with the West Asia along Europe through railway and shipping lines. And electricity and digital infrastructure as well as the pipeline for clean hydrogen has also been envisioned. At a time when the Beijing is grappling with economic worries related to debt and unemployment, it remains to be seen how it will reinvigorate the project of the century. So author is not really hopeful. Author is not really hopeful of BRI that China can pull off alone. But author is also very much pragmatic and saying that if there is a convergence with between countries, and if China is able to work on the loopholes, right? And China is able to work on the loopholes, I guess Belt and Road Initiative will be a very successful initiative. So you can notice that the editorials that we see here are with respect to current affairs only. There is a third forum summit going on, and there are apparently no facts on the Hindu with respect to that. So there is an editorial that we see here. What is interesting to note over here is the World Bank data. Like we can always use this particular data for n number of things. According to the World Bank, 675 million people are without electricity globally. 2.3 million people are without potable water. I mean, that is very shocking, okay? 450 million people are living beyond the internet signals, broadband signals. They do not have phone connectivity. These are the three essentialities that we need at present times. And Belt and Road Initiative can basically offer funding or investment in that gap that other nations are not able to do. Whether BRI is that accountable or that serious or not, that is to be seen. Moving to that same part, artificial intelligence and all of that, we have uninteresting news again coming from this particular aspect, where India has stated that we are forming a high committee to discuss the adoption and development of large language models. Okay, this is LLM languages is there, and the principal economic advisor Ajay Sood has stated that LLMs are the cornerstone technology underlying several pieces of intelligent software that can help make applications such as ChatGPT. And we have also kickstarted the National Deep Tech Startup Policy for public commencement on July 31st. Now, the term deep tech, please remember 2014-15 mein, it was coined by an Indian, Swati Chaturvedi, okay, deep tech. Swati Chaturvedi. So, CLAT will ask you these type of questions, right? CLAT will not ask you who is the principal economic advisor and all of that, because that position keeps on changing. But who coined this particular term deep tech? Swati Chaturvedi. Remember that deep tech is a buzzword in the tech and startup circles, right? Promotion of industry and internal trade have classified 10,298 startups that are basically part of India's startup database. And US Ambassador to India, Eric Garcetti, has stated that US and India are very close convergence at this particular point of time, and this is the best time in the relationships in many years where they can kickstart the investment on that part. So this was one news that we should cover. Moving to the next part, there is not any interesting. Interesting is not interesting would not be the right word. I mean, any viable other news that we should be seeing. So there is this particular case that you should study because it relates to law. Soumya Vishwanathan's murder, and finally, after 15 years, the four assailants have been given the punishment. So what I want to tell you here in this, okay, let me discuss this as well, why to leave it. The point is that here we need to understand, first things first, that people did not want to kill this particular journalist. The motive was robbery. Okay. So there has to be a distinction drawn in her head with respect to motive and intention. So yes, they had the intention to kill her because the motive was robbery. The robbery could not have been committed if they would not have killed her, right? So that is one thing that you should understand from this. Along with this, you need to understand that why did prosecution take so much time? Because prosecution stated, first things, that Delhi High Court has stated that there was a difficulty in assigning a special public prosecutor on her behalf. And the second is that the entire episode or investigation was based on corroborative evidence, or you can say circumstantial evidence. It was only after 1 year when the weapon of offense was seized, okay, when the weapon of offense that was used to kill her was seized, and the prosecution story became believable before the court. So circumstantial evidence is not always very much conclusive, right? And this is something that was to be discussed here. So I have discussed the entire newspaper that you should study, just giving you a quick glance of the highlighted pages so that you can pause and read what are the news that you should cover. Okay, just have a quick glance through the newspaper and it will ease your convenience. So Rapid X Cooper we have already discussed yesterday, so I'm not going to go into that detail again, but then again we will see that it is already inaugurated. It's a transit between Meerut and Delhi. These are the two editorials. This is the third editorial I would not suggest you to read. Not so important for you. Text and context, the Aboriginal referendum in Australia. You will definitely see a question on this particular part in your mock. So read it. And it is about the indigenous people of Australia from Torres Islands, Torres Strait, and Aboriginals they call themselves. They have created a union called as The Voice. And what they want is that since they are a minority population, they're the first peoples of Australia, so they need to have a body both in the legislature as well as in the government that can basically going to support them. And there are little information with respect to what Australian constitution is about. So you can also study that what India has basically adopted from the Australian constitution and all of that. Voting is compulsory in Australia. They have a written constitution. It is not really easy to change the constitution of Australia. Okay, so obviously the referendum is defeated, and the government of Anthony Albanese, who is considered to be from the Labour Party, was not able to gain much vote for the Aboriginals, and the fight will continue on. So that is from the text and context that you should study. Israel Hamas, Modi expressions can refer the matters of PMLA verdict to the constitution bend if the need be. So PMLA is already, I have told you, Prevention of Money Laundering Act is very important for this particular year, and you will have to read it. You can also read it, but this news is not very much, not giving us any kind of facts. The only fact is that Vijay Madan Lal Chaudhary case is being mentioned here. That is with respect to the constitutional validity of PMLA and granting extensive powers to ED and not calling it a police force, and shifting the burden of proof from the prosecution to the accused. That is to be seen here. Most of the news that we have already discussed internationally, and this is another news that minimum support price for the Rabi crops have been increased, and Rabi crops includes wheat, gram, mustard and all of that. So Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs, because obviously elections are coming and this is a failed season, we are not really sure how El Nino is going to impact, what is going to be the rainfall pattern and of everything. So that is one thing that we should study. And India extends curbs on sugar exports to calm local prices. You will find that we have imposed restrictions. We are the world's second biggest producer, right? So of sugar, and we have stated that we are not going to export. So these are the two news that we have from the economic front. This was Harshvardhan Tripathi signing off from today's analysis. I'll see you guys in the next.